Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving deep into one of the most powerful events in nature, the honeybee swarm. But we're not just going to give you a simple checklist. Oh no, we're going to get into the core biological principles that really separate the beginners from the beekeepers who truly master swarm control.
It's a question that every single beekeeper has to ask themselves. How do you manage a hive just humming with 50,000 bees, all driven by this one powerful instinct to up and leave? Well, the answer isn't about using force. It's about understanding the elegant and, surprisingly predictable biology that drives them.
And this is what it all leads to. For the bees, this incredible sight is a massive success. It's how one superorganism becomes two, is reproduction. But for the beekeeper, it's a potential disaster. We're talking a huge loss of your workforce, a vanished honey crop, and just a major headache to manage. Okay, so you might be thinking, if this is a totally natural process, why do we even intervene at all? Why not just let the bees be bees? And, that question takes us straight to the heart of the beekeeper's dilemma.
It really boils down to a fundamental conflict. On one side, you've got the bees, driven by this powerful biological urge to reproduce. On the other, you've got the beekeeper, who's trying to protect their honey harvest, control disease, and, simple social responsibility. Because, let's be honest, nobody wants a 20,000 bee swarm deciding to move into their neighbor's chimney. And this right here is the crucial mental shift you have to make. You're not fighting an illness. You're managing a healthy, natural instinct. In fact, swarming is a sign of a successful, thriving colony. Once you really see it that way, your whole approach changes from this panicked prevention to intelligent, proactive management.
All right, principle number 1. The biological clock. This is what makes swarm control so predictable. It's not just a bunch of guesswork. It's a literal ticking countdown, and understanding it means that your timing is absolutely everything. Just look at how precise this timeline is. The moment an egg is laid in a queen cup, an 8-day countdown begins. Then, on day 8, the workers cap that cell with wax. And that seal? That is the point of no return. It is the biological trigger that screams to the old queen and half the colony, it's time to go. And that is the simple math that makes the 7-day inspection cycle the absolute golden rule of beekeeping. It is not some arbitrary number. See, it takes them 8 days to pull that trigger. By checking every 7 days, you are absolutely guaranteed to find their preparations in time. You will always be 1 day ahead of them. So during your inspection, this is the critical sign you're looking for. You don't need to worry about an empty little play cup. No, you're looking for this. A charged cell with a tiny larva floating in that milky royal jelly. The absolute moment you see this, prevention mode is over. The biological countdown is on, and you have to take decisive action.
Now for principle 2, the separation strategy. This is where we introduce a really powerful mental model that makes every swarm control method just click. It's called the viable units model. Here's the cool part. The goal isn't really to stop the swarm. It's to create one yourself, an artificial swarm. We give the bees exactly what their instincts are telling them they need to divide into 2 healthy, viable colonies, but we do it on our terms in our own equipment. We satisfy their instinct, and we get to keep all the bees. It's a win-win.
And it doesn't matter which method you use, the strategy is always identical. You create 2 units. Unit A, that's your artificial swarm, gets the old queen and all the flying forager bees. Unit B, the parent colony, keeps all the brood, the nurse bees, and those queen cells. Each unit feels like the division has already happened, and just like that, in both hives, the swarm urge is completely reset to 0.
Okay, section 3, control in action. So how does this whole viable units idea actually work in the real world? Let's take a look at 2 of the most common methods out there. So one super popular method is called the nucleus split. It's pretty straightforward. You find the old queen, you place her and the frame she's on into a small nuke box with a couple frames of food and brood, and you move it a little ways away. And instantly, you have your 2 viable units. The original hive is now queenless, and it thinks it's already swarmed. The pressure is just gone. But, and this is a huge but, you're not done yet. 7 days later, you absolutely have to go back to that original parent colony. They will have raised multiple new queen cells. Your job is to pick the single best looking one and destroy all the others. If you skip this step, You're going to get secondary swarms or caste swarms as each of those new queens emerges and leaves with even more of your bees.
Now, the Pagden method gets you to the exact same result, but, well, it's a bit more elegant. You move the entire original hive to a new spot. Then you put a new box with the old queen inside right back on the original spot. All the foraging bees, using their amazing internal GPS, automatically fly back to that original location, creating your artificial swarm for you. Same principle, just a different kind of slicker execution.
All right, Section 4, Mastering the Aftermath. Look, making the split is just the beginning. Real success comes down to what you do next, and it means avoiding a few common and really critical mistakes.
Okay, the first big mistake we see all the time is the blind call. This is when a panicked beekeeper sees queen cells and just starts destroying them all. This is not swarm control. It doesn't solve the underlying problem, the reason they want to swarm. The bees will just build more, and they might just decide to swarm with the very next one they finish. The second mistake is maybe even worse, creating a hopeless hive. Before you destroy any queen cells, you have to be 100% certain there are still eggs or very young larvae in that hive. Because if you destroy their only way to make a new queen, you have just doomed that colony to fail.
And finally, there's the patience trap. After you do your split, the colony that's raising a new queen has to be left alone for at least 2, and honestly, preferably 3 weeks. A new virgin queen is really fragile. If you disturb the hive by opening it up, the workers can panic and kill her in this defensive little cluster they call balling. You have to give her time to emerge, mate, and start laying completely undisturbed.
So let's just put it all together. The entire process really comes down to 5 clear steps, all rooted in bee biology. Number 1, inspect every 7 days to stay ahead of their 8-day clock. 2, look for the trigger, that charged queen cell. 3, act right away by separating them into 2 viable units. 4, follow up in a week to stop those caste swarms. And 5, wait. Just be patient and let nature do its thing.
And that really brings us to our final and maybe most important takeaway. Knocking back queen cells is not swarm control. It's just a reactive, temporary fix that totally fails to address the colony's deep biological drive. True mastery is proactive. So the question I want to leave you with is this. Are you just following a bunch of steps, or are you truly working with the powerful biology of your bees?